And good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Most Important Conversations Meditations. We run these meditations Monday through Friday. The overarching and main theme of our meditations is liberation. Before each meditation, we have a short talk. The main topics of those talks are derived from our primary program, Whole Life Architecture. Whole Life Architecture is a program, a workshop, live interactive workshop where participants are learning how to liberate themselves from their conditioning so that they can be the intentional by design creators of their own life, so that they can create a life by design as opposed to merely tolerating a life by default. A life by default is a life that is lived from one's learned conditioning and in effect is living someone else's life. By returning to the creator within, by connecting to the creator within, we connect to that innate source essence of creative power that all of us had, and all of us still have. It's just buried in most cases, but all of us had when we were children. And we have the ability to reconnect to our imagination, to reconnect to creativity, to reconnect to play, and to be able to bring those tools and apply them to life, as a way of being in life. And so we invite you to take a look at that. If that's of interest to you, you can learn more at TMICglobal.com. Speaking of creativity, this has been the topic and the theme that we've been speaking about the last few days. And it is the theme and the topic that we're focusing on this month. Creativity is, as I was saying a few minutes ago, the source essence of who we are. We are creators. We are most alive. We feel most alive when we are creating. We are connected to our creativity. It's why it's the thing that we did naturally as children. No one needed to teach us how to play, how to imagine, how to create. We just did it innately. We did it naturally. And instead, our conditioning taught us how to not be creative, how to not play, how to not imagine. And as a result of that, we end up consuming who we are to be from the outside, from the modeling of our friends, family, and our community. And over the years, our creativity and our ability to access it has diminished to the point where most adults don't know how to think creatively, don't know how to live creatively, don't know how to connect to the creator within, and therefore they're merely tolerating their life by default. And as we were speaking yesterday, that is a problem in the current situation where everything in our society is being rethought, where we're going through enormous transformative change. The human brain seeks to maintain homeostasis. It seeks to avoid change at all costs. And the human brain will freak out when faced with inevitable change. The only way to mitigate the freak out is to be able to be with the unknown, to connect to the creator within, and to use the opportunity of change to create something new. But if you've been conditioned outside of your creative thinking, if you've been conditioned to drop using your imagination, if you've been conditioned to take everything so seriously that you cannot orient and relate change as a artifact of play, then you will freak out. And we talked about how freak out yesterday is a euphemism for nervous system dysregulation, which occurs because the stability and the predictability of how we have lived is being disrupted. And so we freak out when we realize that the life we're trying to hold on to, the conditioned life, the life we've been taught, matters so much and has so much value and meaning and All of that is now changing as a result of many different things: artificial intelligence, geopolitical changes, climate change. Everything we have been conditioned to believe is normal life is being rethought right now. And so we're having many people experience this nervous system dysregulation. And when we experience this, we realize that we are trying to hold on to a life that was never our life by design in the first place, but rather a life of conditioning we consumed from the outside in. And this moment is a moment of awakening. An awakening can be very dramatic for people, especially if you're really attached to the conditions, really attached to the conditioning of your life. Awakening can be a challenge. It can be destabilizing. And humanity's going through that right now. And as I was saying, this nervous system dysregulation or this freakout shows up in many ways. It shows up as depression. It can show up as escapism. It can show up as impatience or anxiety and even violence. And all of these behaviors are how humans with different life experiences and different capacities for managing and integrating change lash out. They're grasping for some semblance of past predictability. Again, their brains are seeking homeostasis or predictable stability. And that objective is being challenged by this unparalleled transformation of every system that we are going through, these systems and structures that have provided the stability in our conditioned life that we have become reliant on. But as Buckminster Fuller says, environment is more powerful than willpower. So as our entire structural environment changes, as geopolitics change, as the environment has its way on the predictability of weather and how weather behaves and what we can count on, as our economy is completely disrupted as a result of artificial intelligence, it is precisely creativity as a way of being and thinking that is required to meet the moment of the unknown. And because of our conditioning, being conditioned out of our creativity, it is precisely the skill set we don't have as a society right now. Yes, there are individuals who have it, but generally as a society, we have been taught that creativity is a luxury, that being creative as a way of being is not even a thing that's been understood or taught at all. Creativity is mostly relegated, when most people think of it, to the arts, music, fine art, painting, photography, poetry writing, these sorts of things. And yes, those are mediums that are expressed through creativity, but those are not the only examples or situations where creativity as a way of thinking and being and perceiving the world is advantageous. Creativity is who we are. We are creators. And so our creativity has only been relegated to those areas because of our conditioning, but actually as creators, born that way, it should have been all of life that we applied creativity. So what is this mysterious creativity? If it's not merely art, if it's not merely fine art like painting and poetry or writing and music or photography, see, those are topical examples of creativity being put to work, and the output that we are experiencing, those are tangible outputs. We use creativity when we paint. We use creativity when we are a fine art photographer. We use creativity when we are a musician. But you can use creativity in your business. You can use creativity in your relationships. You can use creativity as you relate and orient your life in any capacity. Creativity becomes the lens through which you understand the world, and creativity becomes the way you engage and respond to the world. Creativity, it's been said by neuroscientists, is predominantly where our right brain turns on. We are a very left brain heavy society. Left brain is the part of our brain that relies primarily on logic, on reason, on everything needing to make sense and be ordered. Whereas creativity is our ability to embrace chaos and the unknown. Creativity is the ability for us to connect deeply and profoundly to our emotions. We've been taught in our society to repress our emotions. There's no place for those here. You can hear it in the languaging of how pejoratively in our culture we'll say things, especially to the boys we're raising. Oh, don't be like a woman. Stop crying. Stop worrying. Don't be so emotional. You never hear anyone say, don't be so rational. Don't be so logical. So you can see inherently the bias right there. Left brain bias over right brain bias. Creativity in our culture has been the thing as a way of being that we've relegated to doing. You do painting, you do music, you do photography. That's creativity. No, those are expressions of creativity. But creativity is a way of being that can apply to all of your life. It is a way of being with the unknown that doesn't take you out. You no longer are a walking, habituated, unconscious reaction to life, a reaction based only on your learned conditioning, on your habits, but rather when you connect to your creativity, when you reconnect to the creator within and you show up creatively to life, you become an aware, awakened, conscious response to life. You're able to be with the subtleties of this unknown moment and the next unknown moment and the one after that. And you're able to be with those unknowns because you have trust of self as a creator, that you will be able to create what's necessary to meet the moment. You don't need to have a prescribed, ready, locked-in answer for everything. And it doesn't need to be the answer that you were taught you're supposed to have and that you were validated to have. All creativity occurs in the unknown. It is an emergent phenomenon. But if you can't be with the unknown, then you're going to have a tough time creating. Because creativity comes from no thing. So as our society changes, as the systems and structures change, there are vacuums that will begin to emerge in terms of how we should be. A great example is artificial intelligence. How should we use it ethically and responsibly? What's the law around this? Well, there is no law right now. There's no thing. It hasn't been created yet. Out of this nothingness of the law around artificial intelligence, lawyers are and will create, legislators are and will create laws, lawyers are and will create ways of interpreting the law, documenting it, upholding it. All of this needs to be created, and it does not exist right now. This is just one example of how creativity is used. All of life, all of the things we take for granted have been created. Someone or people, some peoples created them. Everything you take for granted, everything you take as absolute or the truth or right and wrong has been created. When you really stop to think about that, you realize that the power of creativity is so unlimited. And you have that inside yourself. You've just been taught to suppress it, to ignore it, to bury it. And so our work is to liberate you from this conditioning where you're consuming life, where you're looking outside yourself for the answers, and to reconnect you to the Creator within, to the power to meet each and every moment of the unknown with total self-trust, knowing that as a creator, you will create something out of nothing to meet the moment. And that's not an easy thing to relearn because the conditioning is so strong. But it is possible, and we've been doing it now for 8 years through our whole life architecture program, helping people completely transform their lives by liberating them from their conditioning and reorienting themselves to their own innate creative power. So this morning, as we move into our meditation, the invitation is for you to consider, where are those areas of your life where you're experiencing dissatisfaction? Where are there areas in your life where there is change going on because of what's happening in our society? Maybe you're concerned you're going to lose your job. Maybe you're concerned about the state of the economy. Maybe you're struggling in your intimate and personal relationships. Maybe you're dissatisfied with the state of your health. All of these areas of dissatisfaction occur because we're feeling at a loss of power. We're at a loss of power when we're not connected to the Creator within, to our creative nature. And so where in your life are you dissatisfied? Because those are glimpses, those are opportunities for where this work of liberation can begin to liberate you from your conditioning immediately and put you back in the driver's seat, back in a position of creator power. And you're dissatisfied because your higher self, your subconscious, is screaming at you, this is out of alignment with who you are. Do something about it, and don't just consume the answer from the outside. Don't go ask someone else's opinion of who you should be and how you should handle this situation. Instead, connect to your power source and create it for yourself. And that's the opportunity available to you through our program, Whole Life Architecture, which you can learn more about at tmicglobal.com. I'd like to invite Mignon this morning to join us and guide us through a neural sculpting meditation to help us access more of this liberation that we are seeking from our conditioning. Mignon, if you wouldn't mind joining us.
Thank you so much, Chad, and welcome everyone to today's neural sculpting meditation. During this session, I'll offer cues, toggles, and creative imagery. You might hear me spell out words, suggest dialing up or down, or introduce unusual and even bizarre imaginings. Each element is intentionally designed to give your experience and guide you in this 5-step neural sculpting meditation process that runs about 20 minutes or so. And this process helps to calm the nervous system, prime the brain for generating supportive ideas, and give you agency in how you move through life. A regular neural sculpting practice can help reinforce desired outcomes and create lasting shifts over time. I hope this meditation serves you well and supports you in a meaningful way. So let's begin. by inviting the body to relax and settle comfortably, bringing attention to the points where the body is supported by the surface below you. That might be a cushion, a chair, the floor, or some other surface. Notice any areas in the body holding tension. And with your awareness, you can soften and smooth any gripping or holding. Perhaps unclenching your jaw, allowing your shoulders to drop, or softening the muscles in your belly. Allowing your body to rest and settle. Support it as gravity has you firmly planted on the ground. I invite you to take note of the area surrounding you, noticing your body in relation to the walls or other aspects in the space you are currently in. And in allowing yourself to become acquainted with your body in this space at this moment in time, the only moment in time. And as your body continues to settle down, I invite you to gently close your eyes if that feels good for you. And to notice that you are breathing. You have an inhale and an exhale. And I invite you to follow your natural breathing for the next 2 to 3 breaths. As you inhale, where do you notice it most in the body? Is it through the nose? Maybe it's in the lungs. And on the exhale, where do you most notice that? Maybe it's the rise and fall of your chest and tummy, or the air flowing out of your mouth and nose into the space around you. Your breath is breathing all the time, supporting you, automatic and reliable. And with your breath breathing and your body settling, there may be things around you that are adding to your basic comfort. The comfort of the familiar room, perhaps the temperature of the air around you, or the feeling of a soft fabric against your skin. What do you notice that is adding to your comfort? As your body is settling and supported, and your breath is breathing, your mind is free to wander creatively wherever it would like to go while your body remains supported and comfortable. So I wonder if you can imagine a magnificent rainbow. And then imagine tasting the colors of the rainbow. Does yellow taste like mango? And blue taste like blueberries? What are the flavors you imagine? Or it might be more interesting to imagine being a cup. What kind of cup would you be? A glass or maybe a handmade piece of pottery? What is it like to be filled with your favorite liquid and emptied? Your creative mind is awakening and your body is right here supported. And you are the director of this experience, guiding each moment. And you're welcome to embrace or discard or adapt any of my suggestions. You get to write the story, a story where you get to orient yourself to something wonderful, something amazing that you can also release, something that doesn't really serve you. So, if you would like to start by bringing to mind a concept or word that feels so good to you, where does your mind go? This might be something that you've been working on for a while or something brand new, a word or idea, a mission. It could be a simple word like LOVE or abundance or creativity or some other word that in this moment serves you really well. And this idea might have some qualities to it. Maybe it has a sound or tone. You might imagine the perfect song or an orchestra of crickets on a summer night with the sound of the ocean. Or maybe it's something completely different for you. What comes to mind? This word or concept might have a color. Maybe you imagine blue or gold or glimmers of some other color. And maybe you experience a texture when you think of this word or concept, like bubbly or silky and smooth. Maybe it's plush. And as you imagine these qualities, you might be very familiar with them, and maybe they already exist inside of your body. Or maybe you would like to take a little piece of them and drop it right into your body. Where does your mind put these vibrations and colors and textures that represent your idea? Maybe you put it in your hands or in your heart, perhaps in your throat, or anywhere you wish. Could there be a sensation that you might notice? And could this unfold in a way that you observe in this moment? And maybe you imagine these sounds and vibrations and colors and textures filling you up in an incredible way. So much that you might even imagine it starts to displace a fear or limiting belief that you no longer need to hold. Maybe the filling up of this positive vibration allows some contraction or density or words to ooze right out of your space or melt and pour out of you like a liquid going down a drain. Or better yet, you might release these by shedding it right off like an old skin. You might even imagine the capacity to take your contractions and toss them up to be taken by the wind and just evaporate in thin air. And just as you breathe in to breathe out, so too you can fill in with associations to exhale and release the ones that don't serve you. And all of this creative thought may cause sensation. Sensation that is now associated with the fill in for any amazing or incredible concepts that you desire, and the release of what no longer serves you. The in and the out. And this sensation might be quiet or spacious. Maybe it's alive or warming or cooling. What do you notice? Whatever your mind is telling you or your body is telling you, this is a moment you can choose to remember, a state you can choose to remember. And you can remember it by placing your non dominant hand on the part of your body most resonant. Or you may prefer instead to use a hand gesture. You may even imagine a pleasant scent that you can breathe in that would help you to remember this particular moment. You get to choose. If you were to have an activation phrase, a mantra, or affirmation, a simple word that best represents this experience, what would that be? You might imagine that word or phrase written in bold letters. And you might remember that your body listens to your mind, just as your body has listened to your mind in this meditation. And how wonderful that you can invite this to be the backdrop of your inner landscape, just as your breath is the backdrop to all moments. And you are invited to explore your intentional concepts or words, the colors, vibrations, and spaces created in your inner environment every time you place your hand or use your gesture or think of your scent or the word. Even as you slowly bring your attention back to the sounds around you and come back to your body and the surrounding space where you are. When you're ready, you can gently open your eyes to end your meditation. And we thank you for joining today's meditation and welcome you to take a moment to journal about your experience and join us again for our weekly meditations Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Pacific. Wishing you a gorgeous day. Be well.